Aspect oriented programming. Yeah, just now we started discussion. Yeah. What I was telling is we will close this spring batch, we will close it. Actually, batch I should close it. I need to conclude this batch. Okay, that's what I was telling. The leftover spring topics, AOP, transaction security, we will cover, and this time this batch completely will be closed. Fresh project batch I will start. Okay. So how AOP is useful in terms of application aspect or aspects oriented programming language, aspects oriented. How this is useful if I compare with the object oriented programming language. Oops, be aware of it. Oops concepts providing object oriented programming is providing some features to us in terms of reusability. As a developer, to reuse the code, we have inheritance concept. Inheritance, inheritance concept. Using inheritance, we can reuse the code. We can override, we can use overloaded methods, or we can reuse whichever code we have, the existing code. Let's say parent class have some code, we can inherit it into child. So what we are achieving through this reusability, we are trying to we are trying to reuse the same existing code. We are trying to use the same existing code. What is the benefit out of it? I need not to write same code again and again. The benefit is, if many classes have same common variables or common methods, same method I need everywhere. Instead writing the common method every time everywhere, I can keep it in a common class and I can extend that common class across wherever I want. So usually parent classes will have common logic commonly throughout the application which we are using. A redundant code or duplicate code, whatever you say, that we keep it into parent classes and we extend whichever child wants that logic. So through this inheritance concept, what we are achieving, code reusability. So it will allow us to achieve reusability. Code reusability. We can reuse the code. So what AOP is doing then here? AOP also is useful for code reusability, but as a developer, you need not to use this oops concept. You need not to use this oops concept. Listen carefully. In case of oops, we keep common logic into parent class until unless you extend it, you will not get that code here. Until unless you extend it, you will not that code here. Which means during your development itself, during your application design or during your application development itself, you should think about the reusability. I am writing so many classes that many classes have common logic. Let's say I want to do log. For every method I want to record a log. So instead of rewriting everywhere for every class, for every method, the logging, if I keep it into a parent class, a common method, whichever logging logic I have, if I put here, if I extend that log helper class everywhere throughout my application, I can reuse it. Somehow I can use that method inside my methods to log the request. The same thing. Instead of doing it in development phase, after development also you can put some common logic on the fly using AOP. Try to understand. During development phase itself, you need to think about common logic and you will put it into a parent class, then you will write child classes. That's how we will implement, right? First we write child class, then we will write child classes. First parent, then childs. But imagine an application that you have already implemented. So Dixit implemented few classes, some XYZ implemented few classes. You all implemented so many business classes here. Class 1, class 2, class 3. So many business classes are already implemented and they are in production. So I have so many business classes here. Class 1, 2, 3, 4. And across each class is having 5, 6 methods. Imagine I have 5 methods here. Each class is having 5 methods. Now, across all these methods or across all these classes, class A, class B, class C, for all these methods, I want to put some common logic. I want to put some common logic. I forget to add logging in each and every method. You know logging, how we will apply. Using log4j, log.info, we will put logs. I forget to put in these 5 methods, in B class 5 methods, in C class 5 methods, I forget to put logging. Now somebody observed that and asked me to add logging. Hey, you missed for 15 methods, you missed the logging. Please implement it. Or else you have your application is have hundreds, 100 plus classes. Throughout 100 plus classes, you have 5 methods. Altogether 500 methods you have. Please add logging throughout 500 methods. And how I want to log? If I implement a methods like this 500 methods, public void something a task method obviously will have a task. So in that methods, I want to apply logging. Here I have actual code of that particular task. I want to add log here, log.info, something, log in time, task method executed, starting, starting of task method, log.info, ending of start method. This is how I want to put logs. In case if I have any try catch blocks, in catch blocks, inside catch blocks, I want to put log errors also. So wherever log is required, my lead asked me to put all this here, exceptions also. So I missed it. Initially, we didn't think about logging. After so many classes implementations, we realized log is not there. So apply logging. So if they ask, you need to go to each and every method, in each and every method before your code, after your code. In case of exceptions of your code, you need to put all this logic. So if I ask to add such logic to existing classes, if I ask to add such logic to existing classes, hundreds of classes I have, each class is having so many methods. So let's say altogether I have 500, 600 methods. If I ask you to add such logic, if you don't know AOP, definitely you will ask time. How much time? Maybe you will buy time. You may ask for you may ask for 5 days or 10 days for adding the code, testing it. So testing also, you are disturbing almost hundreds of classes. Testing also need to be performed carefully. Because of your log logic also, there is a chance that your class may give problems in future. So full testing is required. If this is the requirement, maybe you need to buy time up to 30 plus days to do this, or 10 days or 20 days. Depends on the number of classes that you have. Obviously, because almost in each and every class, 3 lines of logic I need to add and I need to test them as well. So across 500 methods plus 3 lines of code, 1500 lines of code I need to write. And all that lines need to be tested carefully, because during log you may put some variables also into log. You may print some data also. It will be very difficult, right? But if you know AOP, if you know AOP, you can imagine if this is going to take 30 days. If you know AOP, imagine you can finish it in 5 minutes. If you know AOP, you can finish it in 5 minutes. How surprising, right? Yes, AOP is such a powerful feature. If you want to interrupt your logic and if you add some features to your logic, easily you can add not only single method. For multiple methods, I want to add some common logic, something common things that I want to add. Like logging is a perfect example. In everywhere, for every class, I want to apply this logging. Using AOP, you can achieve it. How it will function? How it will function? In Spring, we have a proxy factory bean class. Proxy factory bean class given in your J2EE, I mean application context, all available in J2EE package in Spring Core itself. A proxy factory bean class we have, a proxy factory bean class we have. Using that proxy factory bean class, on the fly you can apply, on the fly you can apply such logics to your class. Which logics I can apply? What kind of logic I can apply? Let's see. Take one example of business class, which is having something 2 3 methods. We can apply to any number of classes, but one example. A bank class I have here. A bank class is having create account method, deposit, fund transfer method. Just imagine, just for one class I'm applying it. I have 3 methods. Across these 3 methods, I have business logic. Sensitive business logic I have here, here, here. Now new requirement came. Here I have business logic, few lines of code. Here also I have, and here also I have. Now the requirement is I want to add logs. Earlier I don't have logs. Now I want to add logs without disturbing this banker class. If your lead experts in AOP, he will ask or he will suggest you to use AOP instead of going and editing this class. Not only this class, if you may have 10 classes or 20 classes, his requirement is you want to add logs. How we will apply logs? As I said here, before actually method execution, we will put logs. After code, actually whatever business logic we have, right? Before the business logic, after the business logic, during exceptions, we will put logs. Isn't it? Am I correct? Yes. Generally before methods, after methods, during exceptions, we will put logs. Now here also for these 3 methods, I need to put before method code execution, after code execution, during exception. 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines. Altogether, 9 lines of code I need here. But without editing this class also, you can apply that. That is what the beauty of AO. How I can apply here is, you have a proxy factory bean class. Proxy factory bean class. The class name is simple bean class only. Proxy factory bean class. Okay, this class is having some powers. What is that? So for whichever class you want to apply, for whichever class you want to apply logics on the fly without editing this class, that classes you need to attach to proxy factory bean class. Just it will proxy your class. It will proxy your class. It will duplicate your class. It will create same alike class, bank class. It will create or it will produce one more bank class. Same object only, but as a proxy, one clone. For this bank class, it will create a clone. When you attach it, wherever you are doing auto wiring everywhere, right? Generally, if it is a business class, controller class will have auto wiring. A bank controller or some controller you will have there, you will have auto wiring of bank class. Auto wired, you will be putting your bank class there. When you attach your bank class to factory bean, what it will do, what it will do, IOC will create bank object. IOC will create one bank object. But when you attach bank object to proxy bean, proxy factory bean, what it will do, instead of wherever you have bank dependencies, right? Instead of injecting this, IOC will consider proxy factory bean. IOC will ask, hey, proxy factory bean, are you creating any proxy? If you are creating the proxy, I will not inject this one. IOC will do that. IOC will say to the proxy factory, I am not going to inject this bank object. You give me bank object that I will inject. So proxy will provide one proxy object. Proxy factory bean will provide one proxy bank object. What is the difference between normal object and proxy object? What proxy factory bean can do apart from it is, if you implement any advice classes, if you implement any advice classes here, advices in the sense add-on services. I want to put logs here, before log, after log, exceptions logs. So if I put any advice here, advice logic, advice, we say them advices. I want log advice. Log, what kind of log I want? I want to apply log before my method, after my method, during exception also. How this is advice going to be executed? Before, after, and during exceptions also. You can write such advices, and that advice also you need to attach to proxy factory. You will be attaching your business object along with advice. Then proxy factory bean will do what? Whatever advice you have implemented here, at runtime, it will copy as it is this code here. Your create method it will put here, deposit method it will keep here, fund transfer method it will keep here. Along with that, this logic also it will apply everywhere. Before, after, exception logic, everything it will put here. It will place your before logic, after logic, exceptions logic along with this logic. It will mix it. It will do weaving. Weaving in the sense you have methods code already here. To that methods, it will put this logic as well. Yes. No, just I'm telling it is going to create a proxy object. Just imagine, I don't have that logic here. I don't have logs logic here. I don't have logs logic here. So if I ask you, Dikshit, please add logs logic, what you will do? You will go to bank class, each method that you will do. But what I will do, if somebody asks, even my team also doing in the same way. My team was putting lot of logs and they asked me why you are not putting logs. I tell them, what I told them is, even you also ignore it. Don't write any logs within your classes. I told them, don't write any logs. Why you are writing logs inside your business logic? I suggested them to use AOP. If I use AOP, I can create some advices, separate classes. Just imagine a separate class having a before log logic, after log logic, exception logic. Exception logic in the sense your logs. I can write logs in a separate class. And proxy factory bean is like a grinder mixer, like you prepare chutney and all, right? When you attach this advice plus your business object, we call it as actually target. When we attach our target with this advice, it will mix them. It will understand where you want to place. It will place them on the fly. This is what proxy design pattern we call. Have you heard about it? Proxy design pattern. It will proxy it. It will duplicate your class with additional logic. Just imagine I have business logic. For that business logic, it is going to add additional logic. How and what we will see. But just understand what proxy factory bin is doing it. Okay. If you understand this architecture, it will be easy to you to imagine later. Okay. So it will do weaving. Weaving in the sense it will place this logic here on the fly inside create method. It will place these three logics, whatever you have before, after, exception. It will place inside the create method, deposit method, fund transfer method. That means you need not to write. You need not to write everywhere. Not only three methods. You may have hundreds of methods, thousands of methods, but you need not to write. Proxy factory being smartly, it will keep your logic everywhere. This is not looking like a believable, right? But it will do. I'll show you that. A great feature from AOP. So we have very old programmatic approach. I'll give one example on it, and I'll give you fresh annotation approach, a simple approach which we are using in Spring Boot everywhere. I'll give you old approach example, a simple example. Create a simple project. I'll give you what are all classes we have and what is the use of it. But to make you understand how AOP is useful, if I compare with the OOPS concept, in OOPS directly we extend it and we will get the reusable code. But here you need not to do all that. Let's say I have beans package. I'll write a bank class here. Create account, deposit, withdraw, delete account. Consider I have four methods here. So as usual, here I have my business method. Consider create account, business logic, deposit the business logic, withdraw business logic, and a delete account. That's a simple class. Even IOC container also I'm not going to use. Without IOC proxy factor, even directly I'll show you. Bank, new bank. IOC also I'm not using, observe it, okay? I'm just creating bank object And if I call directly bank methods, create account, bank dot delete account, bank dot deposit, bank dot withdraw, as it is they will be executed. Just observe, I created a simple business class, create business logic, delete, deposit, withdraw, execute. Now my requirement is static. I want to add logs. So if you don't know AOP, what you will do, you will go to this bank class. Here you will create one logger object. SL for J, logger, what is that? Logger factory, right? Log factory. What is that? Logger, commons. Oh, we didn't added any library here, right? Let's add library. Apache Commons library. If we add, then we will get logging. Commons logging we have here. SL4J also I have. Logger factory. Or log factory, I believe. Log factory. What is that class, guys? Dot get class, something method we will have, right? I don't believe we will use new log, right? Logger dot get logger, right? Okay. Info start ending simple log I am applying. That's it. Okay. In our blog we have same similar examples. So everywhere you need to add this start ending of log. In case if you have any exceptions in catch blocks, also you need to put it. Generally, this is how people used to put logs, starting of the business logic, ending of the business logic, so that we can understand during execution time, right? In production, if something failed, by reading logs, we can understand what happened, when happened, all that. Yeah. So for every business method, I can see starting. So before printing it, it is showing you create account method is executed. February 2nd, so and so time. Then actual business logic is executed and ended at this time. And this method executed at this time and ended at this time. So that easily we can understand who executed, when there is a problem reported, we can read logs and we can understand at that time what happened to your business logic. But if you see writing a lot of, again editing our business class, doing changes, this is a not safe way. Instead you doing it, let's comment this. I need not to put this logic here. I need not to edit my classes and put this logic here. Instead what I can do, I can keep it into a separate class that can on the fly, how it applied here, right? Similar way it will be executed. See, now this is advice, right? I'm saying what kind of advices we have in a programmatic approach while we are using when you want to put a code that you want to execute across your business classes, right? Before, if you want to execute something before, the advice class name is method before advisor or method before advice. If you want to execute something after returning advice, if you want to execute same logic or some logic like filter before and after, filters you know, right? They will execute before and after as well. Around advice, sorry, method interceptor, method interceptor. In case of exceptions, if you want to write some logic, this is programmatic style I'm saying. You need to use these classes to implement such logics. Old style. A decade before people used to use this. For exceptions, throws, advice. These classes we generally use to implement such logics. Let's see for now, before, after only I want to apply logs. Consider I have 10, 20 business classes. Across all 10, 20 business classes, I want to apply two logs, starting and ending logic. That's it. So I'm writing here a log service, a log service, and I want to implement it from method before advice. In case if you want to implement after also here itself, you can implement that as well. So you need to override one method called before. Method argument, input arguments, I think target object. So here you can put logic, a logic that will execute before your methods across all your business methods, right? Whichever logic you want to execute, put that line here. It will execute for each and every method. So same log I want to add there. L dot info start. But start before what? Which method? This is the variable that helps you to get the method name. Get method name. And if you understand which class it is, class name also it will print. So some log I am adding here. Log to execute for which class? Any class. That can be any class. Now, or you can create logger instance. If you want to create here, you can create. Now, after logic also I want to write. So you can put here, implement here, one more interface after returning advice also. Any number of interfaces we can implement to a class, right? You can. So after also I want to add, you can add here. So whichever logic you put here, that will execute on ending. Now how I can sync this logic with my bank class? That is where we will use proxy factory bean. Who will weave it? Who will club both the logics? Proxy factory bean. So now I have business class without logs and I have a AOP class with logs. Now this logics I want to execute for my all business methods. So whichever I implemented before here, this need to execute before my business logic. Whatever I implemented here, it need to execute after my business logic. How it will happen? Earlier I created simple business object and I'm calling method. Now instead of that, what you can do, create business object, create service object also. Now you need to mix them. You need to mix them. You need to mix both using what? Proxy factory bean. Proxy factory bean dot set target. My business class is bank. PFB dot add advice. Which advice I want to add? This logs. This logs I want to add for this business. Set target and add this logs object. Bus. Now before calling this, override this business object with proxy given object. We need to call get object method. It will give you proxy object instead of original object. It will produce proxy object by mixing these two logics here, right? Oh, maybe this is the output, that is the target. Let me clear it and run. See, create method business logic. See, printing maybe due to console print, right? It is showing you SOP logic first, then this logic next. But imagine that this logic will execute before your business logic only. Obviously, before your business logic only, it is executed execution wise. But in while printing, it printed like that. Okay, don't uh, you know uh, understand it in a different way. It is executed before only, but as before printing this itself, your SOP statement is printed. So if you see here, before logic is executed and your business logic executed and after logic also executed for create account. Same thing, delete account business started, ended. For delete method, if you see properly printed. And for deposit method also start, deposit method end logic. Same way for withdraw start and end logic. How? I did not created any logs logic inside my business, but how it is coming along with my business code? I just executed my business methods only. When somebody read statements here, create account, they will see only create logic. Still it is printing start method, start info logic and end info logic. How it became possible is because of AO. Proxy factory bean, this proxy factory bean helping you to mix business logic with advices logic. How many types of advices they given? Only 4 advices. They are saying if you have requirement that before these methods, any business method, before your business logic execution or after your business logic execution, before and after both, if you want to implement in a single method itself, or during exceptions if you want to add any logic, AOP is there for you. If it is common across so many classes, don't edit that classes and write it. Instead, use AOP. It helps you to write it in a single place and on the fly it will apply everywhere. Only 4 advices. Method before advice, after returning advice, method interceptor and throws advice. Same thing we can achieve using annotations also. There they provided annotations like at the rate before annotation, at the rate after returning annotation, at the rate around annotation, at the rate throws advice, at the rate throws advice annotation for exceptions. So this many annotations we have before, after returning, around, after annotation also we have after returning and after, both are similar. After, one more annotation after also available, and throws advice annotation. These annotations also will help you to achieve the same stuff. Instead of using an interface and implementing it, just create a method on top of it, put it at the rate before annotation. You have implemented this log service class, but you implemented interfaces and you put lot of method and input arguments, lot of stuff you have here. Rather you doing it, just put at the rate before annotation on top of it, just put at the rate after annotation on top of it. Bus, you can remove these interfaces. It will make things simple. Okay, I'll give you annotation examples separate. So this is how you can implement before, after. In case if you want to implement around also, something around I want to execute. So here you can implement method interceptor, method interceptor. So when you try to implement method interceptor, it will ask you to override invoke method interceptor. So here if you put some logic, system.out.println, some SOP logic I am writing before every method, and here you need to write mi dot proceed. If you guys know about filters, filter also will look same. proceed method will return you. Actually, what will happen is every method before this line will execute. From here, it will go to execute your method, and it will come back. It will come back with your response. If there is any response, if it is void, nothing it will return. But if there is a response, it will come up with response. The same response you can return to caller, whoever is calling, without disturbing or without modifying it. After every method. So before every method, after every method, it will execute. If you run it, if you see here, so before every method, one statement executing. After every method. So before create method, after create method. Before your delete account, after delete account. Again before deposit, after deposit. Before withdraw, after withdraw. See, this statement also executed. As I don't have any exceptions, I can't able to show you exception. So let me create one more method called exception. Okay, which method I'll write here? Public void fund transfer. What I will do here, I will intentionally do system.out.println 10 by 0. You know, right, what it will do? It will raise arithmetic exception. System.out.println during a fund transfer. When this reaches to line number 32, it will throw exception. See, generally I'm not putting any exception handler for now. You'll be getting exception. During fund transfer, I'm getting arithmetic exception. So for this one also I want to apply log now. In exception scenario, I want to apply log. For exception, it is just to printing whatever exception you received. Java is printing it, but I don't have any specific log. In general, we will put logs for exception scenarios also. So instead of putting try catch code here inside fund transfer, instead of putting try catch and applying log here, on the fly try catch logic also I can write here. For that, I need to use throws advice. This is a marker interface. It is saying if you wish to implement methods, or if you don't want, need not implement. So if I open this throws advice, it is abstract method. If you see, it doesn't have any methods. But like your runnable method, how it will ask you to implement run method, right? Same way here, you can override one method. Throws advice. Achha. I need documentation. Throws advice. Open API document file. Throws advice API. Throws advice. So throws advice is having how many methods? These are the valid methods. You can override them if you want. Public void after throwing with exception or remote exception with the method, this one, anything is possible. So use this method. First one I'm using. Where do I need to put that method? Here, wherever you are implementing it. I implemented before logic, I implemented after logic, I implemented around logic also. Now I am adding exception scenario logic also after throwing. When you have exception, I will execute. and I'm printing your exception message also. Okay, see, will it execute really? Try it. If you see here, something is executing. When you have exception, I will execute. And the message also it is printing to you. By zero. What happened? By zero is happened in your code. So you can understand easily what happened there. And you can visit and transfer method and you can check in so and so line when it reported you problem, you go there and you can fix that problem. Okay, something is happening, so I need to validate it before coming. Let's say it is A argument and B argument, you always ensure that B argument should not be zero. So to avoid that problem from next time, you may write some validation. See how beauty it is. Without you writing code here, it is able to apply this logics on the fly. Which logics? Before your methods it can able to apply logic. After your methods it can able to apply logic. During exceptions and around also it can able to apply logic. Who is making it possible? Proxy factory bean. Proxy factory bean is able to mix your advice logic with target business classes. We call it as target classes, and this is advice classes. Advice, but this is old approach using advisors and advisors, point cards, a lot of discussion that is not really go through that programmatic approach. We will see this with the annotations in tomorrow session. Okay, in tomorrow session we will see with annotations. There I'll show you what is point cut, join points. Maybe many may not ask you in interviews, but if you understand AOP means, they can realize that is having strong knowledge in Spring. But AOP is not difficult, simple to understand. In single word, if somebody asks what is AOP, I will say on the fly business logic, on the fly services we can apply to business logic. What kind of logic if they ask, I will say before, after, around and exception scenarios. That's it. So we can use annotations. Okay, I'll give you end-to-end use case. Okay, I'll give you end-to-end use case with the annotations in tomorrow session. Okay, and we will see transactions also, programmatic and a declarative way of transactions also I'll show you. Not tomorrow, Monday session. Thereafter we will see security also, then we will conclude and we will plan for project session separately. Okay, so as I need to close this line, right, we started 4 months back, we should end these sessions and fresh batch will start. Yeah, any questions? Did you understand the use of AOP? Not only logging, imagine, imagine yourself something I want to apply before my business, after my business, or during exceptions. Just imagine, in case of exceptions, are you only putting, if I ask you a question, if you are already working, right, during exceptions, are you only putting logs in your business methods, or you will put some failovers also? In some scenarios, we will put failover logic also. For failures, again, if you want to retry, sometimes we may get failure, we will retry also, right? My business is very crucial business, okay? Very crucial business. Imagine I'm doing marketing to a product and somebody approached me for that product. Okay, and while execution of this method is sending some email and leads to my team. So while execution of that method, something is failed. For marketing, I spend lot of amount, and while people are submitting their request, it is failed. So obviously, I will lose my business, right? So something, though it fails also, I should not ask you. You showed interest on my project, so you approached me. It given you exception on the web. Man, you got a problem or exception in the website. Please try again. If it's so, you will lose really your interest. And okay, let's leave it for now. I'll try it again. But instead of showing you that message, if I put some try catch from catch block, if I put again one more retry logic, instead of saving it in the same database, maybe I may connect with some other database to make sure that data I'm not losing. Getting right what I'm saying? Yeah, not only logs, you can imagine anything if you want to apply during, before your business or after your business, or during exceptions. Imagine filters. For what purpose we used to use? This is filter. We do validations, right? If you imagine, or if you came across filters concepts in servlets, or generally filter will do what any filter in car, fuel filter or air filter will filter the air before coming the actual air to your engine, or fuel filter before putting the fuel into the engine. It will filter it. If there are any small, dust particles, it will remove, and it will give the pure oil to the engine. So similar way, my class is having sensitive data before fund transfer or before withdrawal. I wanted to carefully check whether that account is valid account or not, he is a authorized user or not. Can't I apply all that here? I can. I can filter it out. Maybe with around filter, or before method also. During before method also, with this input arguments, I can understand what you are submitting to actual method. I can filter out here itself, and I can say you are entering bad request, so I will not execute your method. Let's say a simple example for withdraw. For withdraw, you need to send valid input. Okay, so I'm expecting input here is positive, positive fund. Something, just imagine. I'm not putting any numbers or business logic here. So my expectation is I need to get positive string for withdraw. I need to get positive string. So whoever is entering here, they need to enter always positive. Okay. Apart from positive, if they enter something negative values or an invalid value, I should not allow them. How I can check it? In this before, also you can check it using this inputs array, right? You can get it actually. You can get it actually. Inputs array of zero argument. It will give it to you. Actual argument. What you can do, if argument is equals positive not, if positive not, you can terminate code here. Throw something exception. You terminate it. Okay. So if not, I'm throwing exception. Otherwise, it will continue. See, I'm entering positive, so execute it. Oh, array index out of bounds exception 0. I'm sending it. Debug. Let's see what values I'm getting there. So it came here. Is it input? Oh no. Target is band class. Okay, method. Parameters. I need to get actually input parameter. Why it is not giving input arguments I should get here? Object should populate this input with the drama. Acha. It is executing for every method. Okay, it is executing for every method. For this methods, no input. No, that's why. When the method name is withdraw, then only I need to check it. So that introspection logic I can put here. Actually, using this method, right? Method name you can get. Method dot get method name. Something is there. Acha, name. Okay. If m dot get name dot equals, if it is withdraw, execute this logic. Let's continue as it is. Still input. Okay. Keep this inside. Retry. Now I think executing perfectly. Okay. It is executing positively. For withdraw method we have returned it, right? Withdraw method is passed. On transfer go, yeah, here withdraw method is passed. Fine. Withdraw method executed fine because you given positive value. But what if I give negative value here? Definitely your filter, before filter will verify it. So you can apply it for filter logics, security, transactions, anything we can apply. So when it comes to withdraw method, see, during withdraw method, I am throwing exception, not valid input. You have Provision and use it. Use it for any purpose. Use it for any purpose. Okay. If you see AOP, multiple classes. Actually, package name, yeah, package specific or class specific also. You can give up to package name or up to class name. That I'll show you in annotations. Okay. This is very old approach. I don't recommend you to go through it, but this is the good way to understand about it. So it will clearly make sure what's happening. When you see direct annotations, you can't imagine all this. Okay. So while using annotations, Spring is doing that automatically. If you see, I'm not using Spring here. If you observe here, I'm not using Spring. Simple core Java classes only I have written. And one proxy bean, factory bean class I'm using from Spring. Otherwise, I'm not even using IOC container. Such a powerful class this is. Even it is not required any IOC container also. With the IOC container also we can write, but it's okay. With the annotations, we'll see tomorrow in Monday session. Okay. Yeah. And we will implement this AOP after annotations, right? In one full use case, we will do end-to-end one use case and we'll conclude. Okay, front end to back end we will implement. There we will add all the concepts together and we will realize it.